Call the meeting to order, please.
Mayor, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council for April 19th, 2012 to order at 8:06 p.m. On roll call, Councilmembers Castiglia.
Here.
Coletti. Here. Councilman Conboy is absent due to a work-related commitment. Councilmember Chewinski.
Here.
Encino.
Here.
Councilman Work is absent. He is out of state. Mayor Muller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Will everyone please rise for prayer and flag salute? Oh God, our Father, we ask you to bless this meeting which we trust in fatherly care and protection. Please remove all selfishness and prejudice from our hearts and implant therein a keen sense of justice and a greater love for you and our neighbor. Guide us in our deliberations so our decisions will always please you and bring peace and happiness to our community. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of the State of New Jersey requires the commencement of each meeting is stated by the presiding officer. Now therefore be advised the meeting requirements of this meeting have been published and an annual notice to the regular Vacancy Act, the Herald News of Woodland Park, by posting such notice in the office of the Borough Clerk, as well as in the public place within the municipal building and by notifying citizens, interested citizens. Said notice was posted on January 1st, 2012. Ladies and gentlemen, these meetings, for those of you who are here, are videoed by our manager, and they're on channel 77, and the newest listing of dates from April 1st to the September 30th. That's all we can get, and then they give us another one. April 1st to September 30th. Thursdays 4 to 7 p.m. Monday, we just got this today, at 2 p.m. So it's Thursday 4 to 7, Monday starting at 2 p.m. I do want to, and I hope this is coming across clear to anyone watching on television. I saw the last one, and it was terrible. Couldn't hear people talking. That was our budget meeting that we wanted to be very clear. Sounded like we were sitting in a freight train going down the tracks. I spoke to our videographer. He says it comes out clear as far as it's not his fault, and he hears it through. We're going to contact Cable again and see if they can clear it up and why it's so bad. I like having our meetings televised. People know what's going on. It gives it more of an open quality. But if you can't hear it, people turn it off, and I turned it off. It was on Thursday today. I listened to it and I couldn't hear it. So we'll try to do that. I hope if you're watching this week, next week, I hope you hear it better than we have here. Again, those days are Thursday at 4 to 7 and Monday 2 p.m. Or you can watch it on our website, www.elmwoodparknj.us. That may be the best process.
Mayor, this evening under the approval of minutes, we have the April 5th, 2012 regular meeting and the April 12th, 2012 executive session.
May I have a motion for both, please?
So moved.
Mr. Castiglia, second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Coletti. Any discussion? All in favor, opposed, so ordered.
Mayor, this evening under ordinances, we have on first reading, Resolution 138-12, introduce ordinance 12-07 on first reading. Be resolved that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, and compensation of the Teamsters Local Union 560, in the Borough of Elmwood Park, County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, from January 1st, 2012 through December 31st, 2013, be passed and adopted on first reading. Be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, May 3rd, 2012, at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter, the same can be heard, at which time and place all persons interested can be heard on said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be is hereby authorized to advertise in the legal newspaper notice of introduction and final hearing is required by law.
This is the final hearing?
This is first reading.
First reading. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Boncino, second.
Second.
Mr. Castiglia, any discussion? discussion?
Mayor, if I may, just for the public's edification, Teamsters Local Union 560 represents our Department of Public Works.
Call the roll, please.
Roll call, council members Castiglia.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Conway is absent. Chowinski.
Yes.
Alcino. Ward is absent. Motion carries. This evening we have Resolution 139-12, introduced ordinance 12-03 on second reading. This is an ordinance to fix salary, wage, and compensation of the police department, the Borough of Elmwood Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, from January 1st, 2012 through December 31st, 2014. Whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed in a meeting held on Thursday, April 5th, 2012, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. Whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Elmwood Park, then ordinance entitled an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, and compensation of the police department, the Borough of Elmwood Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, from January 1st, 2012 through December 31st, 2014, pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Coletti, second.
Second.
Chowinski, any discussion, all in favor, opposed, so ordered. Anybody in the audience who wishes to speak on the salary ordinance for the police department? No one wishes to speak, I'll close the public portion of the meeting. May I have a motion on the resolution, on the ordinance, please?
So moved.
Moved by, who was it? Castiglia and Coletti again. Any discussion?
Yes. Thank you. At the risk of being accused of beating a dead horse, I just wanted to reiterate, I had abstained on the first reading, and the reason for my abstention, again, was it was my belief that this contract did not meet the test of the 2% cap or toolkit item that the governor gave us, or gave municipalities. At our last public meeting, PBA President Myers, who's in attendance here, provided in his public comments, he overviewed the collective bargaining process for us. It was my interpretation, or my opinion, that I guess his belief is that the two abstentions somehow reflected that this council did not negotiate in good faith. I don't think that's the case. There seemed to be a concern that because it wasn't a 6-0 vote, there was something that wasn't aligned to the laws set of collective bargaining in the state of New Jersey. I guess in my experience watching C-SPAN, because I don't have a lot of political experience, I've never seen votes in Congress go all the way one way or the other. So I just want to say I think the council did negotiate in good faith, and I say that because over the course of negotiations, our position, and Officer Myers did indicate in his comments that our initial position was somewhat drastic compared to other positions. We did change our position a number of times over the course of negotiations. So I think we did attempt to modify our contract and what we thought was appropriate for the PBA and for the Borough of Elmwood Park. The other thing he neglected to mention in his comments was, and by law, he said everything correctly, they had the 3 meetings that are required by law. In January, I reached out to Officer Myers to have a 4th meeting. I thought there was room for us to further negotiate. I think the specter of considering mergers with the county probably tainted the PBA's view of how an additional meeting would go. What I told him in an email to him was, over my 30 years in industry, I can't count how many times there was a specter of consolidations, plant closures, reorganizations that happened. And I spent many a night worrying about things that I couldn't control. Nobody was going to ask me if my company was going to close or relocate us to another state. That was not a decision I could make. The one thing I told Officer Myers that both of us could control was that we could see our way to have another meeting, and that was in our power to do that. But he opted to go to arbitration, as he said. At the end of the public meeting last time, I spoke to a member of the PBA, and he was on the negotiating committee, and one thing he told me was that he felt the members should really look to me as their liaison to support the contract. And when that didn't happen, there were some questions in their mind. And the one thing I want to make sure of, because I don't think Officer Myers appreciated my comments last time, I do support the PBA and the work they do for this community. So with that said, I'll be voting yes tonight to the contract.
Any other comments? One of the things that I would suggest the council do in 3 years, when we start negotiating with the police again, that we do not begin our negotiation with 3 people. We'll try to get the entire council so that everybody can sit and listen to what's going on, and we won't have any contradictions as to we should have tried harder and so forth. It's a very difficult contract to settle since they have mediation and binding arbitration with the police department. What I do want to say is their raise at 1.9 is around $2,000, a little over $2,000. So it's a decent raise. However, the pension goes from 8.5 to 10% this year. So a patrolman is paying about $1,700 more in his pension. And the health benefits, beginning July 2012 to December 2012, goes up to almost $2,000. So I would say that how much money they're getting is just breaking even, okay? And I think the town did well in the fact that last time we settled the contract, we settled at 3.95. This time we settled at 1.95, so there was a substantial savings there. We can't take the credit as the Elmwood Park Council. The government did that, but it was a savings for us. And I don't know what's going to happen in 3 years. I don't know what's going to happen in 3 years, but I appreciate Mr. Boncino's comments. I think we all feel the same. We want to negotiate the best we can for the community, and we also want to negotiate the best we can for the employees of the community. So I hope there's no animosity there. We're trying to do our job, and as I told PBA President Myers many times, Dave, you do your job, I'm doing my job. As long as we can get together in the end and be happy, that's all that counts. Call the roll, please, Mr. Casabon.
On roll call, council members Castiglia,
Yes.
Coletti,
Yes.
Conway is absent, Chouinski,
Yes.
Monsino, Work is absent, motion carries. Resolution 140-12, introduce ordinance 12-05 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance creating a new chapter of the code book to be entitled Volunteer Emergency Standby Guideline. Whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, April 5th, 2012, and further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. Whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, and therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled an ordinance creating a new chapter of the code book be entitled Volunteer Emergency Standby Guidelines pass on final reading. Mayor, before we take the motion, my recommendation to the council this evening would be to table this ordinance. It was brought up at last week's work meeting by Councilman Boncino that this ordinance should also be inclusive of the volunteer ambulance corps. Mr. Giblin and I are working on additional verbiage for that. May require a meeting with the volunteer ambulance corps like we did with the fire department, but we would like to consolidate both the fire department and the...
I agree with you 100%. May I have a tabling motion, please?
If I could say something first, I concur with our clerk on this. I was instrumental in bringing this ordinance to this point, but we did neglect the ambulance people. It would be a good time to put it all together and do it once. So I'm in favor of tabling.
You make that motion?
Yes.
Second, please. Second by Mr. Boncino. Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Castiglia,
Yes.
Coletti,
Yes.
Conway is absent, Chouinski,
Yes.
Monsino,
Yes.
Work is absent, motion carries to table. Resolution 141-12,
By
introduced.
the way, excuse me, Mr. Casabon, this ordinance that we just tabled is for the fire department, and we're going to try to include the ambulance corps. If we have an emergency, we have a hurricane or a storm like we had last August, police get paid overtime, DPW gets paid overtime, the ambulance corps comes out because there's an emergency, fire department comes out if there's an emergency, and they do not get paid. So we're just trying to even it up a little bit. These are volunteers, and if there's an emergency and a storm like that, they're going way out of their way to come out and help us. So that's the reason we're trying to incorporate this. I'm sorry, Mr. Kevin.
Resolution 141-12, introduce ordinance 12-06 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements in, by, and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $999,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of such issuance of such bonds. And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, April 5th, 2012, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. Whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning the same. And therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements in, by, and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $999,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriations, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Chouwinski, second.
Second.
Mr. Castillo, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone who wants to speak about this ordinance, please come to the microphone. No one wishes to speak? Motion to close, Mr. Castillo, Mr. Chouwinski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Ladies and gentlemen, this ordinance is for $999,000, almost $1 million. But please keep in mind about half of it comes from a grant we received from the State Department of Transportation through the Bay Molnar Drive, and another grant coming from the CD, Community Development from the county, which is also federal money to fix part of the brook on the south side of Kip Avenue. And that's not our money, but it's got to be incorporated. We have to bond it, and then they will give us the money. The remainder is for our road program, and also to take out some gas tanks that we have in town that we're being told we have to take out by the State Environmental Protection Agency. And I think I mentioned last meeting we had, we're mandated to do this, and I'm a big fan of state mandate, state pay. They mandate we do it, and we pay for it. I would like it to be, they mandate that we do it, and they pay for it. I would like to be a senator or an assemblyman who says, this is a great idea, we're going to do it, and by the way, you have to pay for it. So they try to do something with state mandates, state pay over the years, but there's always a little bit of flexibility in what they do. And, well, that's the second half of the $1 million that we're bonding, so everybody's aware. It's not that we're going crazy bonding. We still have one of the lowest bond ratings in Bergen County. Any comments?
Just briefly, Mayor, this might come up as a sore subject where the Board of Education might say, well, you bonded $991,000, why can't you give us busing? I've been through this a few times at a couple of meetings here publicly and at the Board of Ed. We're very frugal what we do. Our city halls run to the bare bone, even through people retiring in their own place and such. And we have a surplus of protecting people. But this is a needed repairs to our town, so it's not going to, as per se, for education. And you can say, well, why don't you give us $300 for busing? And I've been saying over and over and over again, they should take a second look at their budget. They have a, $31 million budget. What's $300,000 on that budget to supply the busing to these people? Okay,
Thank you. Any other comments? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmembers Castillo.
Yes.
Paletti.
Yes.
Conway is absent. Chouwinski.
yes,
Fonseca.
Yes.
Work is absent. Motion carries. Mayor, this evening under the consent agenda, Resolution 142-12, payment of bills. Resolution 143-12, confirmation of checks. Resolution 144-12, confirmation of payroll. Resolution 145-12, redeem third-party tax lien for Medbay Enterprises LLC. Resolution 146-12, redeem third-party tax lien for Medbay Enterprises LLC. Resolution 147-12, memorandum of understanding with the Teamsters Local 560. Resolution 148-12, award quote to Revax Contracting. Resolution 149-12, authorization of Boswell McClave Engineering for the drive improvements. Resolution 150-12, appoint Deborah Rodriguez, senior exercise instructor at the Senior Citizen Center. Resolution 151-12, appoint a summer day camp recreation staff for our summer camp program 2012, Resolution 152-12, agreement of emergency services notification for the reverse 911 with the County of Bergen, Resolution 153-12, resolution supporting click and ticket, Resolution 154-12, resolution supporting the Open Public Records Act, Resolution 155-12, traffic side management plan, Resolution 156-12, resolution for deed restriction, and Resolution 157-12, resolution for affirmative fair housing marketing plan.
Motion, please. Mr. Bonacino, second.
Second.
Mr. Stigler, any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, if I may. Resolution 154, that's 12, that's the Open Public Records Act that we're petitioning along with other accounts. This bill that's on the table right now is going to make it a little more difficulty for our accounts with the new requirements on Open Public Records Act. And it's very extensive. While we're all in favor, we're not in favor of slowing government down any more than it has been slowed. It does need some tweaking, and that's what we're opposed to. We're not opposed to opening the bill in general. Tweaking the bill so it works a little bit more fluently for government. Thank you.
Thank you, I think that's a good comment. They want government to be as open as possible, and it's going to need to be so open. While Clark and his staff can't handle the Oprah requests that are coming in, and they have a certain limited number of days in which to get that across. I also want to comment on Resolution 150-12, the appointment of Deborah Rodriguez, Senior Exercise Program Instructor. That's going to cost us $2,000. And the reason I'm bringing it up, not because of $2,000, but we get between 50 and 60 seniors at the rec center doing exercise. I think it's 3 days a week. They come there and they exercise, they enjoy it, they get out of the house, and I wish that anyone here in the audience, anyone watching on TV has some senior relatives or friends that want to get out and do a little exercise. Go down there, enjoy it. They have fun. Mr. Truinsky and I were down there when they opened up the exercise room, and with all the new equipment that they have, and everybody had a smile on their face. So I think it's a great program. Unfortunately, we have a lot of newspaper publicity in Fairlawn and some of the other towns that have it. We have the same thing.
That's right.
We have the same thing, and the rec department and the police should be commended for that. Call the roll, please.
Roll call on the consent agenda. Council members Castiglia.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Conway is absent. Chouwitsky.
Yes.
Monsino.
Yes.
Work is absent. Motion carries. Mayor, this evening under departmental reports, we have the Department of Public Works report for March 2012 and the Police Department report for March 2012.
Motion received and filed. Mr. Bonacino, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Truinsky. All in favor, opposed, so ordered.
Committee reports, Mayor.
Which side do we want? Mr. Coletti?
Okay, Mayor. Well, regarding the school board and the busing issue, we haven't heard from them at this time whether or not they have resolved the busing reduction issue. They were exploring options to possibly reinstate the busing to its previous levels. I personally am adamant that they should. In the interim, we are viewing the safety concerns that we have if the issue isn't settled. And as we are all aware tonight, in the first reading with the DPW on April 11th, the council and the DPW representatives met for the final time and hammered out the 2-year contract that we heard tonight. The proceedings were very smooth, with both parties leaving the table happy. Due to the proposed reconfiguration of Market and Boulevard intersection, our iconic tank will have to be moved to accommodate it. Councilman Larry Castiglia, Lufancino, and myself met with our DPW head, Scott Karts, this week to discuss this relocation. And it was concluded that just moving it back would be the most practical solution. However, there are some intersecting sewer lines in the proposed relocation area. Once we have the final drawings, we then can conclude on this new location. And in the interim, other locations are being explored as a contingency plan. My gut feeling is, though, that it's going to remain exactly where it is, just a few feet back, and that's what we're all hoping for, because it is a staple, and as the committee said that day, when you talk and give directions of Elmwood Park, you'll talk about the intersection of Market and the Boulevard, and the person will say to you, where's that? And you'll say, where the tank is, and they'll say, oh, okay, I know now. So we're hoping that it all works out. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chouinski.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended last night's GIF meeting. We received our check for $1,250 for the silver award for coming in second in our safety, public safety, which is good. So I'll hand this over to the clerk. Also, again, the lost time accident frequency is still down, which means our departments are doing a good job with their people as far as accidents. On the fire department front, we had 4 fires. One is the Chrysler building, wall fire, one in Markel, one of the machines burned. We also had 2 at Fairlawn. One where they actually burnt up the rubber matting and made those tires on the ground. Somebody lit that on fire. And they had a house fire where one of our own fire department got injured by falling fire debris on Selma. Right now, the fire department is almost completely redoing their thermal imaging cameras. They brought them up to date, which they use grading on fire so they can see inside the walls for hot spots and such. Also, the Chiefs Dinner will be October 26th at the Fiesta. They're having a bloodborne pathogen class for all their members at Infantry on April 24th, and there will also be one on April 26th at the DPW, which will be required. Lastly, the fire department held a swiftwater awareness course for anybody that's in their boating safety awareness safety course, where they take their boat out. They have to go through rigorous training for that. And lastly, I attended the county meeting last night. A little dismayed because we were looking for our funding for our park, and their ordinance, they did pass a resolution last night, 512-12, giving us $16,000 towards cutting trees. They hired a company, which I talked to the mayor, I remember them saying they're going to spend $90,000 because there's an extensive amount of work has to be done there. So I'll write a letter back to the mayor and see what's going on there.
We'll get the clerk, and we'll send the actual letter that they sent us, saying $90,000, and we'll ask them where the other $60,000.
So Rich, you're offering to...
They're not offered, they put out the award and bid rate, $16,000 clear for the green. That's it.
We get a couple bushes.
Branches. And the other front, the ordinance committee, we're still working on various ordinances and updating them, still working in progress, man.
Thank you.
That's it.
Just in the comment, along with Mr. Chouinski, the county did promise, sent us a letter, in fact, we dug it out today. It says $90,000 this year and $370 or somewhat. No, that was for last year, 2011. And then 300 and some odd thousand, 350,000 in that area for 2012, put the walking path in and do whatever they have to do to get that going. Now, if they only gave us 17,000, the question that Mr. Kazmark has to do is ask where the other $60,000 is. That should clean up a lot more trees and a lot of other debris that's in there. And I got a phone call from one of our firemen who was very concerned about the lack of rain, how dry it is there, and that it's liable to start burning. So
They might not have to go.
that's true. There's some areas where the houses are. Mr. Castiglia, your report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. It's going to be short tonight. Planning board didn't meet. Let's see. Planning board didn't meet on the 11th. That was our scheduled public meeting. There were 2 applicants from the previous work meeting that they need to go out and get some more research on their projects and come back. They'll be back for the May work and public meeting. Councilman Coletti spoke about the tank. We're going to try to make it as painless as possible, hopefully. We're just going to try to move it back, and if it can't be exactly centered like it is now, we'll work something out with the other side to make it look kind of around the Christmas tree. Hopefully. We also have a second choice, but I think that's our first. Choice. One other thing. I read an article in last week's newspaper. It was about a young man from Elmwood Park. His name is Tyler Griffin. Okay, he's completed his 12-week boot camp at the Marine Corps facility at Paris Island. So they put it in the paper that he graduated from boot camp, Marine Corps boot camp in Paris Island. They went on to list some of the training that he received, and brought back some memories to me. And one thing that I remember the most is the 3-mile run at 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning, 3-mile run. And growing up in the 60s, I came from Hudson County, and you didn't do much, unless you were on a track team or something, you didn't do much running unless you really had a reason for running. You didn't go out and run just
He's
for
the one
fun.
chasing you?
Right, so then all of a sudden, here I am in this situation where I'm running 3 miles every morning. But I just wanted to bring that up. I want to congratulate him and his family. It's something to really be proud of. Thank you, man.
Excuse me for interrupting. Something I missed, I want to thank this young man out here in reference to this
Reference, yes.
tank spec and history on it. Victor, I believe?
Yes, Victor.
Okay, thank you very much. We have the information we were seeking, gentlemen. It is a M56 Scorpion, I believe, and it was produced between 1953 and 1959. Most important, it's 7.1 tons, and that's what our engineer will need to spec the slab underneath it. And some other goodies. I'll make a copy of all this
Great.
for the balance of the council.
Great.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you. Any comments to Mr. Castiglia talking about the Paris Island? Mr. Councilman Castiglia is a Marine veteran, Vietnam veteran,
He had a reason to run back then.
and he was there at Paris Island, did his training, and then spent some time in Vietnam protecting us over there. And we congratulate him on that.
Yes.
Mr. Bonsignor?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Just prior to this public meeting, the mayor and council met with Chief Johnson and Lieutenant DePasquale, and we discussed organization and staffing issues. So we developed some guidelines for Chief Johnson to go forward and start supplementing the force, and also be able to start promoting to our new capable organization. So as we move forward with that, I'll have more information for you. As I've said on numerous occasions, we're members of the New Jersey Sustainable Energy Meeting, and that's where we purchase gas commodity and electricity at commodity with about 100 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. On April 4th, they conducted the auction for electricity, and I have the numbers here. And for electricity, we have the only organizations that opted out was the Ambulance Corps and the library. They felt the additional building was more of a hassle than it was worth. But I just wanted to let you know, for our municipal buildings and such, if we weren't in the same, we would be paying approximately 16.5% more for electricity, and we saved 15% over what we paid last year. So we reduced the New Jersey STEM negotiated price by 15% year over year. And with the street lighting, if we didn't have the street lighting in the auction, we would have been paying 20% more for electricity for street lighting. And we're saving over 27% over last year what we paid for street lighting. So it's quite a savings on the commodity. And the website's www.njsen.org. And over the course of 2012, they're going to be putting a savings calculator on the website, so you can go in and look at how you're doing on the gas commodity and the electric commodity. So once we find that, I'll pass that along to you. Last public meeting, I mentioned that the Ambulance Corps was going to have an open house on April 15th. They canceled it on April 15th in the morning. I think they had trouble publicizing it in the community news. It didn't make the newspaper, so they felt that they want to reschedule it. It'll probably be sometime in May. Once I have the dates, I'll communicate those dates to the residents. Again, as I stated last meeting, once we get the date, please stop down on Falmouth Ave. Ambulance Corps does a lot of good work. They're also looking for members, so you might pique your interest in volunteering some of your time. In June, on the 3rd, they're having, I'm going to put this card up one other time again, I'm not sure how this is coming across on TV. They're having their open house in the Kmart parking lot, June 3rd, 10 a.m. to Auto Show. What did I say? Sorry about that. Auto Show, June 3rd, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and the rain date is June 10th. And a final note for our high school seniors and their families, I guess they're in the final throes of making college decisions. I know you have to have a deposit down by May 1st, and I've been through the process twice so far. I'm not sure if I'll make it through a third time or not. But it's a very, very tough time in the house when a student's trying to make that decision on how they're going to chart their course for the future. All I can say is you're in that position because of all the hard work you've done over the last years in high school and middle school and elementary school. So I commend you all and wish you much success as you go forward. Congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Giblin. Okay. Just a couple items I'd like to report on. About 3-4 months ago, I indicated that we were trying to help our violations department collect some tickets that are way overdue. And our next council meeting, after all this time, because we will be the first in the state to hire a firm that's going to take on collecting delinquent tickets. We don't have to pay anything to the firm. Whatever the ticket comes out to, we get that money, and then the firm can charge a percentage. I think it's what, 20%? 22%. So if you have a delinquent ticket and you happen to see this on TV and you're not familiar with Clark, even if you are, pay it now, otherwise you're paying the full amount of the ticket plus 22%. So we will be the first in the state to do this, and I have to congratulate and thank our attorney, Mr. Giblin, for doing this. It's a groundbreaking area and going out for bids and doing whatever we have to do, which is a little different. Secondly, I'd like to report that 2 of our fire prevention contestants that were here and received awards at the last council meeting did get an award from the county. They passed and they're going down to the state now to see if they get a state award. So that's a good plus for us. I think we only had about 5 or 6. 2 of them passed the county. Secondly, we mentioned Molnar Drive, or thirdly, we mentioned Molnar Drive. We will be completing that road. Remember last year we got up to about a little past East 54th Street, and then we ran out of money. Well, we received a state grant to complete it up to the boulevard at this point. So that should be done. All the road work should be done late summer. I want to thank the Marcal Company. They had a 2-day cleanup on River Road, which is behind Marcal, not River Drive. River Drive is on this side, and River Road is on the west side. And they did a fantastic job cleaning up that area along the river, and I was told that they picked up 12 tons of debris and everything else, from bumpers and tires and hubcaps and you name it. 12 tons, and they were out there for 2 days doing that. The one thing I'm making that comment, obviously, to thank them for doing that, but also it's amazing how many people go buy something in the store, and when they have to drop the receptacle, they think that the open window is a good call and they just throw it out. I also understand, quite frankly, that some of the debris comes from the river when it does overflow, but if it's in the river, it's because somebody else threw it out the window somewhere along the line. So thank Marcal. And if you read in the paper that there's going to be a sale involving Marcal, Marcal's not going anywhere. It's still going to be here. They're still going to do the same thing that they're doing now. It's just a higher up situation that's involved with Marcal. And lastly, I hate to bring this up, but I will bring it up. We had a problem with summons that was given out for a violation of our sign ordinance, and it made quite a bit of publicity. I asked my secretary to dig into what kind of calls we had, and I'd like to repeat it for the council, and those of you here. We had 3 residents call, and they were opposed to the sign. It has nothing to do with the content. It's a violation of a sign ordinance we have. So 3 people called up, they were against it. We had 5 emails from the Elmwood Park residents. 4 were against it. A couple of them didn't put names on it. And 1 was in favor of it. And we had 2 emails from out-of-towners who were both in favor of it. Okay? So what do we have? We had 8, we had 10. They called me on an interview from the Newark Star Ledger, and the headline was, "Town Divided." And then they mentioned there was a 16-year-old girl who was in favor of it, and a 70-year-old gentleman who was opposed to it. That's not a town divided, that's 2 people with different opinions. As for the emails and everything else, 10 people commented. We have a very diverse town. People are accepting it, they know it's a sign ordinance, has nothing to do with content. And if they want to appeal it, they can go to the zoning board to see if they can appeal it. In fact, the company business is going out of business at the end of the month. The last item that she put in, my secretary, was that she's been here with me for about 20 years now. And these are the most phone calls we've ever received from the media, print, radio, TV, cable. So we had 20 phone calls from just the media asking what we're doing about it, and only 10 people called to complain about it. So I don't know where we're going at it. And, you know, we're trying to do what's best for the community, and I think we are doing what's best for the community. And by the way, I just want to mention this also. That deli is really a non-conforming use, which means it's in a residential area, and it was grandfathered because it was there before we had the master plan about the community. So that it really isn't a residential area. It's not in on Market Street or on a boulevard or anything else. But we did get one phone call from or an email from somebody who lived in Glen Rock, and if they're watching this at all, I'd like to see that mural placed on Rock Road in Glen Rock and see how they like it. But it has nothing to do with the comment. Now, I also just, in conclusion, I don't want to drag this on too long, but I was told that they're going to change the content and put something else in. Sign. It's a sign. It's a violation of the sign. Nothing with the content. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? Yes, Mr. Kaplan, H34 Beauty.
Oh, no good.
No,
I'm sorry.
Now let Victor talk now.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You did say go ahead.
Go first.
Yeah.
All right. Victor McCloskey, 8 Augusta Street. We still have to do that, right? Say the address and
Yes,
everything.
please.
All right. First, I would like to address the resolution Councilman Chewinski brought up. I was at that work meeting when you guys were discussing it. I think it's 154-12, as you said. I've been coming here for 2 years, maybe more than that. Anything I wanted to know about, anything I was confused about, I asked you guys and you guys answered it. I requested some papers from Keith Casmar, and he gave it to me in 2 minutes.
Is that our clerk or is that the mayor of Woodland Park?
The clerk. So anything I needed, anything I need clarified, I got it clarified in a matter of minutes. So you guys are doing a great job. It's very transparent as it is, and I don't know how further you can go without degrading it. So I really want to thank you guys for that. And I'm 17, so I'm really, I don't know how tough can it get. Guys are speaking English, so it's real good. The second thing I would like to just bring up, on the way I was walking here on Market Street, there have been a couple of incidents. Spray paint has been ending up on a couple of residential fences on Market Street, big. And they're not murals, they're just black spray painted letters I can't even read. Yeah, they can't write script or something, so. And then it ended up, I believe, on Dunkin' Donuts as well, that big wall, spray paint there. I don't know what's going on. How are we gonna fix this issue? The private property is being degraded, and I don't know if it has a connection to what's been going on there, but it's just, I never saw this before in Elmwood Park, never.
I heard about the Dunkin' Donuts, and I don't know if they saw that. I haven't seen anything on private fences. But
I will take a picture of it and I'll show it to you.
that'll, give us that, and we'll have the police department go over and see what they have to say.
Yeah, it's just a disgrace. I don't even know why people do this. It's private property.
Well, I do want to comment on every year we end up getting some people to paint the underpasses, and we have 3 or 4 underpasses because of some graffiti that's on that. It's not a mural, and some vulgarities that are painted on it, and we paint over that. So we're trying to keep the town looking good and not get vulgar with some of the curse words that are written down here. So we do it as quickly as we can. But thank you for that.
Yeah, and and some of these words are unreadable, so they can't spell, so we have an education problem as well, so. And just one more last thing about the mural thing. You're right, it's not about the content, it's the ordinance. And, you know, I just want to reiterate to everyone, if you have a problem, come here. Come to these meetings and talk to people. And, you know, then that's what it is right now. Sometimes I go down that street and I saw it one time, I didn't even know what it said. You know, it looks kind of cool, yeah. But it's the ordinance. And you brought up that the business is going to be going out shortly. Oh.
Yeah, it was in the paper that by, I think it's April 26th, that the person who has the business is
She doesn't own the building.
no, she doesn't, know. She's going out of business. The person who owns the building doesn't live in our town.
So is that just going to stay there?
No, if summons has been issued to them, they have 10 days to do that.
And if they don't, you guys are going to paint over it?
No, they go to court.
All right. Just
It's their building, so we're not going to be painting over anything if it's not removed according to our building inspector and Mr. Giblin, if I'm incorrect, you correct me. They have 10 days to clean it up, otherwise they go to court and then the judge will make a decision.
And just to clarify, nobody has came to you or anyone else and asking about, can we change this ordinance or nothing? Nobody appealed to you?
Nobody except the Bergen Record in their editorial who indicated maybe we should just close our eyes and let it sit there, and I wrote a response in a letter to the editor indicating a violation is a violation, and I never asked anybody to try to close their eyes to a violation.
All right. Thank you very much.
And by the way, I do want to comment about this. The building department, our police department, and everybody, if there's a summons out there, they're very flexible on allowing more time if there's a financial problem and everything else. So we're not that strict that it's going to be done tomorrow and that's it. That they're having some difficulties because of family problems and things of that nature.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Captain?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Your name and address for the record.
Oh, Mel Kaplan, Glenwood Avenue, Elmwood Park. On the Board of Education bit, whatever. If the Board of Education hadn't wasted vast sums of money hiring an engineer and an architect and whatever, and drawing up all those plans, which must have cost a lot of money, and presented them as a courtesy to the planning board, because we saw them. Larry, you saw the plans, they cost big bucks, what they had. What a total waste of money, whatever. They should be told. They want money, don't do these foolish programs that end up voted down, whatever. But that's another story. On this graffiti art, there's a name on it, there's a piece of
Mr. Captain, it
Clothing
has
on
nothing
it.
to do with content. I wish you wouldn't get into it.
well, it's just my feeling, and I just feel that it's graffiti. A lot of the graffiti is painted on all the underpasses, which the town has to spend money on to paint over, and the ugly looking of it and the wording. And I just think that if this goes to court, and if we have a liberal-minded judge, we're going to be stuck with this obscene graffiti, like the Bergen Record editorial. They said it was art, and to overlook it. I'm sorry. That does not belong in Elmwood Park. In the inner city, fine. On all the subway trains that New York City spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to clean up all the graffiti on the trains, subway stations. If we let this proceed and to overlook it, it could proceed and have every building in town painted over, graffiti, underpasses and whatever. I just think that the mayor and council, number one, should write a letter to the Record and telling them that they had no business to telling us to overlook it.
I did that.
And that, oh, you did do it? Oh, good, I'm glad to hear it. With that, my view is, it's graffiti. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Mayor, if I just, I'd like to comment on that Board of Education referendum.
Yeah,
The paperwork that came from the Board of Ed to one of the residents, they said they spent $80,000 on that referendum. That's what they said in writing. $16,000 for their model alone.
what a waste of money.
Evening, Dave Myers, East Washington Ave. Couple things I want to address. First off, thank you very much, all the members, mayor and council, for doing the right thing. Now let's move forward and hopefully continue on to get a better relationship between the PBA and the council. That's all I've been striving for the last couple of years now. Unrelated, with the school bus, I've been thinking a lot about it. It's mind-blowing to me. The council has been, the mayor and council have been extremely frugal with your money, where you guys have always been under budget, maintained under the budget. The library, they have their own budget. They maintain their own budget, they're ahead, they're in the black. The police department, DPW, even the ambulance corps, always in the black, always within the realm that they need to be and follow the rules that they have. The one biggest drag on our entire tax bill, that one entity, the school system, takes approximately 70% of every tax dollar that we all pay. It seems to be that they are the most reckless with spending their money, to the point that they waste all their money on other nonsense. $80,000, as you said yourself, to do this program, to try and change, why, so they can have a skybox to look at a football game, to watch a football game? Seriously. The issue here with the school system is it affects so many people. It affects so many families. My wife and I were a two-income family. So I turn around and tell my wife, because I got 3 years, 11 months to go before I could retire. So I tell my wife until those 3 years, 11 months, because I have a 5-year-old daughter, that I am not going to allow to cross Route 4 to go to her school, that my wife now has to walk away from her job. Does the school system realize how many parents and how many families are actually going to have to move out of this town because they're not going to be able to afford the rent, the taxes, or the mortgages on the houses because you only have 2 incomes dropped down to 1 income? How many bosses in this day and age that want more for less are going to sit there and allow a parent to leave early and come in later so that the child can be brought to and from school? The other thing the school system is completely turning a blind eye on is they're forgetting the last 2 years as a police officer in this town, seeing the fact that they have been coming to us to once again solve their problems with the lack of parking in the street. So now you're going to have all these parents that cannot have their kids come on the school bus. Now they're all going to drive there and park there. So all the surrounding streets, and now as a parent, you're going to have to leave a good half hour before that child goes there just so you can get a parking spot somewhere in the area. Now I'm speaking selfishly also is because, as members know, my wife is pregnant with twins. So not only is she going to, when I'm working day shift, she's going to have to get my daughter up and ready for school. She's going to have to get the twins up in the car. And she can't because she's going to have to park 3 blocks away because of all the other parking. Or she's going to have to get an hour ahead of time just so she can see my daughter walk from her car to the front door of school. So then she's got to get 3 kids. This is what the school system, I don't know if it's some sort of political ploy that they're trying to do or some try to strong arm the council into giving them free money that you guys have squandered. Obviously, I know that's from personal with my last contract. But
Like, we should have given you more, you personally, but your wife had twins, you need years.
I'll take it. I'll take it. But it's mind-blowing to me. Whatever Tomco or the school board is doing, they've lost reality and they've lost the base of the people, the significant people that have a school system. I was looking at that board and I could see pretty much most of them, or if not all of them, their kids have moved on where they don't need a school bus. They're able to walk. I have a 5-year-old beautiful daughter. You think I'm gonna have her walking on these streets by herself to go to her school? Absolutely not. And that's the biggest problem here. You know, it's wonderful and all that to have all these programs. Everybody wants programs for the kids to excel, get smarter earlier, computers and all that. But if a child can't make it to school safely, then what good are the programs that are there? Just a couple of days ago, we had a pedestrian that killed Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
And in the last year, on my shift alone, we've handled probably at least a half a dozen pedestrians struck on Broadway. It's not a safe area. I made a joke a couple weeks ago that said, what are we going to do from now on? Have another post on the side that's going to have a pacifier on it so the child knows which button to push so you can cross Broadway? I mean, it's ridiculous. 35-mile-an-hour high that I know, because I do radar on the road, that you get speeds on there 50, 70 miles an hour. The school system's just turning a blind eye like, well, too bad. If the town wants to help us, you know, we're fiscally irresponsible. Ask the town to give you the money. And that's another issue, that's a problem, is that the school board is trying to put the residents and the parents against the council to show on you guys into folding into giving them what they cease to have, which is a good grasp on financial responsibility. And that's where this whole thing falls. It's the school system. The biggest white elephant in every budget throughout the United States. 70% of every tax dollar goes to that school system. And now they want to hold us hostage, us parents, because they want more money. Hand it to them. When's it going to end? Next year, you know, is it always going to be school on the chopping block? You know, busing on the chopping block? You guys giving money this year, and all of a sudden we need more money next year because we lost $442,000. We need to get that money back. Where does it end? Does it end to the point that the town is also in the red? The council? With the budget? And now nobody has money. And then we're all screwed. We're all out of jobs, and nobody's being protected anywhere. It's just mind-blowing. I don't know how the school system is, you know, Tomco and those guys are going forward with this. It's unconscionable. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Dave, as Councilman Truinsky said, they need to take a real good look at that budget again.
Right.
We're talking about 31 million, is it?
31.
You gotta find it in there for the bus, you have to go over there again and find it.
We're a little bit away. You know, I mentioned the plan not in just the last council meeting. The recreation programs that were taken over truly add up to over $300,000. By giving those programs alone back to the rec department, you have $300,000 from busing.
Right. The problem, it's my daughter goes
Mr.
to,
Myers, we can't hear you unless you're
Sorry.
on the microphone.
Send them back.
my daughter actually goes to
I
St.
shouldn't have
Anne's.
said that, I should just let you go.
My daughter actually goes to St. Anne's. So the school budget is actually, the town is making money off of me, because I'm paying for her to go to St. Anne's. So I'm double paying. I'm paying my taxes through the school system, and the only thing I've been using out of it is the school budget. Is the busing. You're gonna take that away, and now I'm double paying, and then you're gonna tell me, oh, well, we'll just get somebody else to drive your kid $500 a seat. So let's just keep on adding the money onto it. You know, and the problem is, like I said, the parents are the one being held hostage. Because we're stuck in the middle, there's nothing we can do about it. You know, I was at that school board meeting. I saw that meeting. I was there for the entire meeting. Their minds were made up before they even walked in the doors. It was just cursory for them to do that. It was just them saying, okay, well, we listen to the public. They might as well just said, you know what, don't even know and voice your opinions. We don't care. We're doing what we want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, let me just bring one point, Mayor.
Sure. Mr. Castillo?
I come from the Roseland section, most people know that. I live across the highway, I live on the second floor. My kids were lucky that the buses came every morning to pick them up, bring them across the highway. There's a young family, well, there was a young family about 2 or 3 houses away from me, living in, the mother is, well, the young person is living in the house next door to her mother. Couldn't be any more convenient. She had a little child, 4-year-old child. Her and her husband decided, when the referendum came around the first time, they decided they were out of town. They weren't gonna stick around. And this is a situation where it's a young couple living right next to our parents. I mean, within a month, they sold their house and they were gone. Now, there's another young couple on the other side of me that with the busing situation is considering doing the same thing. And these are young people with kids that are be growing up in our town and now not doing it. And that's a shame.
Thank you. One of the things I'd like to mention to Mr. Myers, Patrolman Myers, is that I'm glad you made your comments here. We're on TV, if the sound carries through. Okay, and we're also on our website. You go to the school board meeting, I don't want to jump on the school board, but they take minutes, hand minutes.
Right.
They don't even have a tape recorder. They can get video of the minutes if they want to pay for it. Now, I'm not saying they should pay now, that's the way it is, but at least have a tape there so that if you go to a meeting, your words are taken verbatim. Now we have to hope that whoever's taking the minutes is taking everything or he's just leaving something out. I'm not accusing them of everything, but how much documentation can you have with minutes when it's, you're writing it all down? So they should look into some of those things, and your comments today are probably going to reach a lot more people than they had at that board meeting. And we were talking to your police chief just before this meeting, and we got into a little bit of a discussion, not much, we just mentioned it, it wasn't on the school board, but it did come up, and I would suspect a lot of people in town are going to find out they don't have busing in September. The busing is still out there now. Kids are being bused. Come September, all of a sudden everybody's going to say, no busing.
Didn't get them yet.
Okay? So, you know, and you say, well, how come people don't know that? How come they haven't read it in the paper? You know, I did get one phone call after all this was done about the mural telling me, why don't we put it in the newspaper? We had more editorials and everything else in the newspaper. I don't know where he was. But may I have, anyone else wish to speak? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Castiglia, second by Mr. Boncino. All discussion, all in favor. Thank you for coming to the meeting. And remember, you can watch this on Thursday, 4 to 7, Monday, 2 p.m., or www.elmwoodparknj.us. Thank you very much. No. What are you doing? No, it's over, guys.